Hello and welcome to the Faded Wildflower Crochet. My name is Rachel. And in the video where I tried the worst yarns of all time, according to you guys, I tried the Red Heart all-in-one granny square yarn. And in the comments, a lot of people were saying, try the flower version. It is so much better. But then there was probably an equal amount of people saying, don't try the flower one. It's so much worse. I just had to know. I had to know how I felt about the flower version of this yarn. So we're going to be trying that out today. But while I was on the Yarnspirations website, I saw that they have a burlap blanket version of the granny square yarn. So we're going to be trying out these two yarns today and just see how I feel about them. So we're just going to go ahead and start with the flower version. It is called Flower Power. I got the color Peony Pop. Is that how you say it? Peony? Peony? I think that's how you say it. I'm going to open up the packaging here, see how we are supposed to make this flower, and we'll just go from there. Okay, so the instructions are pretty similar to the granny square version where you start off with a 4-inch tail. So we will measure that out. And then I will just be following these instructions. I do feel like this is going to be a little bit more of a learning curve than with the granny square one, because the granny square one's just a granny square. And even though you did it a little bit differently than the way that I normally do granny squares, it's just a granny square. So I pretty much got the hang of it. But I've never done, this particular kind of flower. So I might be having to pay attention a little bit more, but we're going to go ahead and get to the crocheting. Okay, so I did want to just go ahead and start off with the hook size they recommend and doing double crochets the way that I do them, which I am a yarn under girl. So I have quite a bit of this color left. So I'm trying to decide if I want to just do yarn overs with this hook or if I want to just go ahead and skip to a size 6 and do yarn overs. I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to stick with the 5.5 because it's not as much as I thought it would be. It's quite a bit though. I don't know. I think I may just, I'm changing my mind. Yeah, I am just going to do the 6mm and do the yarn over way. I think that's what ended up working for me the best with the granny square yarn. So we're just going to do that. How do I still have this much left over? Okay, so this is actually a lot harder so far for me than the other granny square yarn. I don't know if I should go up to a 6.5. That seems ridiculous to have to go up to a 6.5, but I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do. I still have extra. Like, what is happening? Why is this so much worse? Okay, I'm gonna try really loosening my tension. I am so used to having tight tension. Okay, gotta measure this again and we're gonna start over. I'm just gonna try to have really loose tension, as loose as I can. This is not turning out how I thought I was going to. Okay, finally got there. Super loose tension, which I am not used to, but we got there. Now in this one, the second and third rounds are both worked in the second color. So it's going to be a little bit trickier trying to figure out if I'm going to have enough yarn. I went ahead and just pulled all of this out so I can kind of see how much yarn I'm working with. So fingers crossed this is going to work. My air conditioner is on, but I am not turning it off, so I'm sorry if you can hear that, but I'm feeling quite warm, and it could possibly be because I'm feeling heated over this yarn right now, you guys. I ran out of the white, which means I'm gonna have to take some of this out and tighten my tension. And why did nobody warn me that there were so many treble crochets in this? If you know me, you know that I hate treble crochets. They're the worst. I hate doing them. So not only am I using this hook size that I feel like is way too big, I am having to do yarn over instead of yarn under and I'm having to have loose tension, I also have to go back and redo treble crochets. I'm not happy. Okay, well, I'm gonna see if maybe I can take out just this petal right here and tighten my tension, and then we'll get there. We'll see. I'll check back in with you. Okay, guys, I am at my wit's end with this yarn. I am going to try and switch down a hook size for round 3 and see if that helps. I was trying to just take out like a petal or two. That wasn't working, so I'm gonna try going down a hook size. Some people were saying in the comments of that other video that with the granny square yarns, they'll like switch hook sizes between rounds and that helps. We're gonna try it. This might be my last hope for this yarn, and if it doesn't work, I might just be giving up. I might not have a square to show for this. I don't know. Cross your fingers yet again for me, please. The trash truck is going by and it's very loud. I apologize, but hey, trash man, do you want some more trash? Because I've got some for you right here. We got there. But I have never, and I mean never, been more frustrated with a yarn in my entire life. Any of you who said that this is easier than the granny square yarn, are you okay? Do I need to come check on you? Because this is so much harder. In reality, I'm glad for you if this was easier for you than the granny square yarn. This is so much harder for me. I don't know why, but this was a nightmare to try to get to this point. We have a flower now. It looks good. It actually looks pretty good, but it was so hard getting here. I will say as a pro that this feels softer to me than the other Red Heart yarn. We'll do a side-by-side comparison here in a minute, but this feels softer to me, which that part's nice. That's about the only good thing I can say so far. Okay, guys, I am working on round 4 of this granny square, and the instructions say to put 1 treble crochet in double crochet of second round over slip stitch of third round. And I have no idea what that means. I will put the instructions on the screen. I'll put a screenshot so that somebody can explain it to me. Could I do some more investigating? Could I try to figure out what they mean? I could. Am I going to? No. I am already frustrated enough with this yarn, so I just took that round out, and I am left with this cute little flower. That's all I have to show for this yarn. I'm already frustrated enough with trying to get the tension right and switching hooks, and I'm just frustrated and I'm over it. And so this is what we have to show for our for our flower power yarn. Most of the time, I do try to push through in these videos when I'm frustrated and try to figure something out. I'm just over it today, you guys. And I do have a plan with what to do with the rest of these yarns, at least what to do with this one and the other Red Heart one. But before that, I am going to take a look at this Bernat Blanket one, and we'll see if this one is any better. This is in the color Fruit Juice. I love these colors. I also love that it came in this nice little cake here. It does say to use an 8mm. This is my only 8mm hook. I really need to get some bigger sizes in the Clover or possibly the Tulip. I'm not sure, but I have this one. So we're going to start off with this one and see how it goes. I'm going to open this up, look at the instructions, and we're going to hope that this goes better than the other yarn. This color is so bright on camera. It looks neon. It's not quite that neon in person. First of all, can you see the way that this is tied together with the next color? I don't really like that at all. So also we have this much left of the pink, which is less than I thought it was going to be honest, but definitely more than we need. The problem is I don't think I have a 9mm. I'll check over there in my stash. I know I have a 10mm, so I might just switch to a 10mm and just do slightly tighter tension. I don't know. I think that's what I'm going to try. That's what I'm going to try next. But I will say that this is maybe a little bit thinner than I'm used to with burnout blankets, which I don't mind. It's actually kind of a little bit nicer on the wrist. It's not quite as stiff as I am used to burnout blanket being, but yeah, we're gonna take this out and try again. Okay, that actually worked perfectly. So we are at our second round now. Like I said, this is tied together, kind of weird, but we're gonna go with it. It's good enough. So I'm gonna start on this second round here, and we'll see if this same tension, the tighter tension with the bigger hook, is gonna work. Well, you guys, it is a few days later, and it turns out that I was sick, which makes sense why I was so frustrated with the Red Heart yarn. Is anyone else like this, where the first sign of you being sick is that you get like irrationally irritated? I should have known, but I am feeling a little bit better. You will be happy to know that while I was sick, I did in fact finish the Red Heart flower square. I did push through, I did finish it. Now, I didn't film the process, first of all, because I looked like death, but second of all, because I scanned the QR code on my phone, and I film on my phone. And so I, wasn't able to film, but I will say that the QR code does take you to step-by-step instructions. And I find those instructions a lot better than the ones on the packaging. And I'm really glad that they include that, because I was able to get there, although I do think it looks a little bit wonky. I may have messed up. It may have been the yarn. I'm not really sure, but I do feel like right here, what happened? I don't know. So let's talk some pros and cons of each of these yarns. Let's actually start with the Burnout blanket square, which look at this big boy square. It is huge. This yarn, of the 3 granny square yarns that I've tried, is by far the easiest one of the 3. I did have one round where I did have to redo a few stitches, but other than that, once I found the right hook size and the right tension, I was able to just breeze through this. And I do feel like it looks pretty good, a little bit wonky through here, which we will talk about. So the pros is that this is exactly how I would expect a granny square yarn to work up. With the Red Heart one, it was just like, once I got my tension right, I thought it was going to be fine. And then those last 2 rounds, it wasn't fine. And we'll get to it. But so many people were giving me advice in the comments of that video saying, oh, well, you have to switch hook sizes and all these things. I don't want to have to do all of that. The point of this yarn is that it makes it easier to work with, not harder to work with. And with this one, it works up exactly how I would expect this type of yarn to work up. So kudos to the Burnout blanket version for that. I realized I didn't actually pull this all the way through, but speaking of this huge tail you can see here, this yarn actually leaves you plenty of yarn to sew your squares together with, which the Red Heart one did not. My tail is like this long. With this one, it says to leave a 42-inch tail, which at first I thought was a typo, but it's not. And I think I might even have a little bit more than that, which I think is amazing for 2 reasons. First of all, it gives you some space in between those 2 colors so that you're not running into the next color. Like I said, with the Red Heart granny square one, I almost ran into that next color. With this one, you don't have to worry about that as much, and you have enough yarn to sew your squares together with, which is amazing. Now for the cons. So with this one, instead of just having the dye change colors as I showed in the clips, it is basically like different skeins of yarn that they've like tied together. It's not exactly like a knot, but it's not exactly super neat either. I wish it was just dyed differently in the same way that the Red Heart is just dyed where it needs to change. With this one, it's just tied together. It's just, not a huge deal, but it just doesn't give the cleanest, neatest look. You can kind of see through here. I don't know if that's just the way I did my color changes or if I think it's because of the way that this was tied together. I don't think you would see these little specks of the other color if it wasn't woven together the way that it is. Now, another con, I'm not really sure if it's a con or more of a sideways thumb if I were to use that metric, is the price. So this is $12.99 per skein, which I do think is a similar price to other burlap blanket skeins, but with the other burlap blanket skeins, you get a lot more yardage, whereas this one, you have less yardage, and on the packaging, it says you have to purchase 5 in order to make a whole blanket. And I mean, that's not the most expensive thing in the world, but it's not the cheapest either. I will say that. I understand that this is going to be more expensive because of the fact that they had to use different skeins and tie it together. It's, you know, a more lengthy process than just having a solid color skein. But personally, I don't know that I would buy 4 more of these skeins. Even though this is by far my favorite of the 3, I still don't know that I would buy 4 more skeins of this in order to make a blanket, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. You'll have to let me know if you think that's a fair price. So now let's talk the pros and cons of the Flower Power yarn. I keep showing you the wrong side. Now, the first pro for me is that this is for sure way softer. I went ahead and pulled out the other Red Heart, the regular square, and this one is so much scratchier than this one. I do feel like Red Heart is just kind of this way. Sometimes you'll get a skein and it is the scratchiest thing you've ever felt. Sometimes you get a skein and it's really not that bad. This one falls on the not that bad side of things, and then this one falls on the super scratchy side of things. I don't know. I can understand a lot of people were commenting in the comments of this video like, Red Heart's not really that bad, and especially after you wash it. And I could see how you would feel that way if you were talking about this one, because this is not that bad at all. And yeah, I can tell after a wash, this would actually make a pretty soft blanket, whereas this one is so much scratchier. And I do feel like working with it like almost irritates your hands with how scratchy it is. So I don't know. I don't know if this is across the board, the Flower Power ones are softer, or if it's just these 2 particular skeins, but there you go. Another pro is that I'm happy to say, as you can see, there is plenty of yarn to sew your squares together with. So I don't know if with making this one, that was maybe a feedback that a lot of people gave was like, please give us some more yarn in between to sew with, because they have made that change with this one, which I am so happy about. So, I mean, yeah, that really helps to, again, the same things like I said for the burnout one, you're not going to run into the next color and you have plenty to sew with. Another pro for me is that I love all the color combos of this one. I do feel like the color combos for this one were pretty good, but of the 3 yarns that I've tried, the color combos for this one are my favorite. Of course, I love this one, but there are so many other really fun color combos, and I do feel like you could mix and match them. I think it shows that on the packaging of the skein, that you can mix and match them and make like a whole blanket of different flowers. If I liked this yarn enough, I might do that, but I really love the color. So that's a pro for me anyway. Now the cons, for me personally, and you know, maybe I'm alone in this, although according to the comments of that worst yarn ever video, some people were saying that they loved it and some people were saying that they hate it. So it seems to be a very divisive yarn. I could not for the life of me get this to work for me as well as the other 2. Now, this one I struggled. This one was pretty good. This one is by far the worst. I don't know. Maybe I was doing something wrong, but I feel like I did everything, trying to change my tension, trying to change my hook size, and it was just so much more difficult to work with than I had hoped. Now, similar to the burlap blanket, this one is more expensive than just your average solid skein of Red Heart yarn. I believe those run you about like $4 per skein, whereas this one's gonna run you about $10 per skein, which again, I understand that more went into the planning for this, and so it's gonna be more expensive. We'll get to it, but for me personally, I would rather just buy some skeins of Red Heart Super Saver and make my own squares, but of course that's up to everyone's judgment, whether you think that the price is worth you not having to weave in the ends. So as I mentioned, a lot of you guys were leaving really kind, really helpful tips when it came to dealing with this kind of yarn and what you guys do. Some people were saying that they spent 2 hours trying to figure out the right tension and where you had to switch hooks but that it was worth it to them so that they didn't have to weave in ends. And if that is how you feel about weaving in ends, then by all means, this type of yarn might be the type of yarn for you. For me personally, I would rather weave in ends all day, especially than having to deal with this one where I was just so frustrated and it just wasn't working. I'd rather just buy my own skeins and weave in my own ends, but I'm not an end hater like some people. I don't love it. It's not like my favorite part of the process by any means, but I just don't hate it as much as other people. And I talked about this all in my no-sew video, but some people do have hypermobility issues and things like that. So, you know, maybe it hurts their shoulder to pull, to have to sew. And so if that's you, then this really might be worth it for you. But for me personally, this type of yarn just isn't for me. The truth is that I'm not the type of person that really likes to pay super, super close attention to my projects. That sounds bad, but it's why you don't see me do a whole lot of projects with color work. It's why you do see me just kind of freehanding things sometimes, because I really enjoy the like relaxation process of crochet. And that is taken away when I have to really pay attention. Like I would have had to like take notes to like, where do I have to change my tension and where do I like, that's too much work for me personally. Like I said, I would just rather weave in ends than to have to pay attention so close like that. But for a lot of people, I know that's your favorite part of crochet, and people who love making like tapestries where you have to switch the colors and you really have to pay attention to your stitch count and stuff. If that is like one of your favorite parts of crochet, then again, you probably won't have as big of a problem with this as I did. Sorry if this was a little bit more of a quick video than I expected it to be. I was hoping that I was going to like one of these enough to make a whole project with it. But since I don't like either one of these, and because I don't really have enough of this yarn to make a whole blanket, I think what I'm going to do is do a Will It Ami video with all three of these yarns and see how they work up for amigurumi. Some people were suggesting that in the comments of this video, so I think that's what I'm going to do. So stay tuned for that one, and I'll just leave this video as like a quick little Wednesday video. Have you tried any of these yarns? Do you like them? Do you have the same struggles as me? Do you have different struggles than me? Please let me know. And also, do feel free to leave your tips in the comments. Again, I probably won't use these again for granny squares, but I know a lot of people in the comments will really appreciate you giving your tips on how to better use these yarns. As always, if you have made it to this part of the video, I want to know, what were you working on as you watched today's video? If you did like today's video, be sure to hit the like button. You can subscribe, stick around, and oh my gosh, my voice is giving out on me. You can subscribe, stick around, let me know what other kind of videos you want to see next. You can join my Patreon where I make a bonus video as well as an exclusive pattern once a month. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.